Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Arts and Crimes. I'm one of your three hosts, Kelly.
I'm Branden.
And I'm your temporary guest co-host, Josh.
We're here. We made it. We did it. We're great. Sorry.
Should we be so apathetic about it too?
No.
Hooray.
No. I was trying
This
to do...
is a downer to start. You gotta get,
I was trying to do two things at once.
To be the best, you got to pass the test.
Okay, yeah, welcome back. We're back. We're in the future because we're posting. It's a little bizarre for me to be posting a previous episode tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then recording for this one in 2 weeks, but we're also recording next week for after that. So we'll have the next episode also recorded before we post this one.
This is the type of engaging.
This is very meta.
Logistical.
We're rapid firing these episodes, which will go out at normal pace.
Yeah.
That's the thing. All the questions we've been getting is like, but when do you record the episodes, and how often do you record them, and how far in advance?
Wait,
people
you
really
know questions that people have been asking?
That's what all the people want to know.
People want to know. Look, that's all we're going to talk about during this episode is the boring logistics, the behind the scenes.
We're
So buckle
peel
in,
back the veil of
podlings.
reality.
I'm sending you something, Josh. You're going to read it here in a second.
Okay. No.
Did you say no?
Yes, I did.
Well, too bad. He's still alive. Okay. So, really quick, let's do our week checks. That's a thing.
It is.
Yeah, we do that still. I am Kelly.
All right, we're clearly out of practice.
I know. I've forgotten how to human. Let's start with you, Branden. I feel like you always have at least 2 or 3 I can choose from.
All right. So this check-in is, I'm not sure where you are in the world, but we recently celebrated Christmas. And
Why does the location matter?
I thought it was a funny joke.
It's pretty good. You got me.
I did. All right. So anyway, got a 3D printer, which has been a lot of fun because I always thought, well, 3D printer would be cool, but never really considered that I would get one, and so never looked into it or researched it or anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't the funny part.
I needed to
No,
cough.
she just barely got it.
Yeah,
She was like, around the world, that's Christmas is the same. Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
No, I needed to cough, and I was about to tap the microphone to silence it, and then I remembered you were also using it, and
mic.
then I remembered that one time Josh actually did that. I'm sorry.
Cough, too
Okay.
good one.
All right.
Continue.
You'll never
No,
need
you're
to cough
good.
again.
So, anyway, so that was a big surprise for me, and so I've been finally actually been learning about 3D printing, and it's been pretty fun. I'm printing up crap and making stuff, and so, now I understand better what it's like to be an artist as I make all these creations. So I really feel like this is going to prepare me for better responses on the pod.
Yeah.
I think Kelly got real offended just now.
Bam, bam.
There are artists that use 3D printers.
Sure.
All right. There are, but they're not me.
No.
Because right now, I'm just printing other people's stuff.
There you go.
So
But,
you're less of an artist and more a guy that works at Kinko's.
yeah.
Which is the first step into
becoming
your
an artist.
art existence.
I
It
guess
is true. You got to start somewhere.
I was prepping for this moment back when I worked at Office Max.
Yeah, this has been the culmination of your life
forgot
thus
that.
far.
I forgot you worked at Office Max.
You also worked, didn't you work at
That's smart.
like a Blockbuster?
I did.
Yeah, those aren't I don't think
Those aren't real.
those aren't real anymore.
They were never real.
Never real.
We just told Branden it was a
Branden
Blockbuster.
is just in a vacant lot, like, oh, do you like this movie? Talking to nobody.
Don't forget to rewind.
It's Truman Show, but sad.
Yeah.
because we all play into his delusions. Anyway.
Okay.
All right. So what's your favorite thing you've printed?
Probably my favorite thing I printed so far is this little beauty.
For those on the podcast.
Nobody describe it. Nobody describe. Just kidding.
That's actually a really good idea. Okay. Tell us what it does without describing the physical form of it.
Yeah, make a noise first. See if we can. I think that's pretty obvious.
No, it's not. Wait, show me what it does.
It's so cool. Your minds will be blown.
It is an OTF out the front dual action knife, or maybe I would say dual action out the front knife.
I would love an OTH out the handle. Like, every time. Does it hurt? Every time.
Every time.
So I'm not sure. I don't think this is against the law in Utah, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think you can take it on a plane. Also,
Don't drop it.
Yeah, don't stab yourself.
It got me thinking about, like,
that's not a knife.
If I did talk about this, if I did talk about this on the show, like, would it be one of those times where, you know, like, Snoop Dogg gets on a podcast and he's like, hey, this is when I was smoking weed at this thing, and I think to myself, why isn't somebody arresting him?
Statute of limitations?
People are admitting to stuff all the time on podcasts, so maybe it's okay. But anyway.
The police are like, we don't listen to podcasts.
It's in the Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. They can't get you on a podcast.
Yep.
So anyway, this guy is just a handle and stuff for a utility blade.
That is how, not a podcast, but that is how BTK got caught. Do you know who BTK is? Bind, Torture, Kill? The serial killer?
Yeah. He went on a
podcast
no,
and admitted it?
Similar in that, just follow me here for 2 seconds. Okay. So he had a bunch of, he like taunted the police with stuff on a floppy disk. And then he was like, called up the police and he was like, if I give this to you, will you be able to trace me? And they're like, no, we won't be able to get any information off your floppy disk. And he was like, cool. And he dropped it off, then gave it to them. And then they arrested him. He's like, you said you wouldn't catch me.
Liars. It kind of sucks. Like, I find myself more often than not, like, looking for things to print and then trying to figure out who to give it to. Because I don't love filling my house with just junk.
But you love filling other people's house.
It does feel kind of nice to, like, oh, I thought of you and got you this. And
made this with my own hands, sort of.
Yeah. Look at these chess pieces, Kelly.
Oh my gosh, those are actually super cool. Look at him! I like the horse a whole lot.
So I found some chess pieces that are like gothic.
Very Kelly.
Yeah. Like skulls and stuff and really ornate gothic stuff. And I was like, man, this is totally up Kelly's alley.
Yeah, Kelly would like that.
But she doesn't really play chess. Who is like Kelly but plays chess?
Nobody's like Kelly. She's a one of a kind.
Oh, thanks.
So, anyway.
You can still print it for me and I'll just look at them.
Yeah.
I'll put a chessboard out and I'll be like, I do smart things.
What you do is you look up a famous chess game by a grandmaster. You set it up halfway through, and then anytime someone comes over, you go, "Hey, don't touch that. I'm in the middle of
a game."
Clever
girl.
Anyway, so
I like it.
That's what's going on.
Anyways, very cool. I'm excited to make you print things for me, and then I'll give you some monies.
Yeah.
So, how's your week, Josh?
Listen.
Tell the podlings.
Some people got into 3D printing, and they just will not stop talking about it. And it's really ruined my week.
You know what you should do? You should 3D print a scooter.
The ultimate combination. Okay, so I'll do the boring part and then get to the funny part. The boring part is I bought a razor on Amazon, but then it was like, it's not going to arrive for a week. And the next day I went to Costco and they had the same razor basically for cheaper. So I was like, I'm just going to buy this and return the Amazon one. And what always happens with Amazon is as soon as you hit return, they're like, oh no, it shipped. What happened? Like, I hate when they're like, we're preparing it for shipment. We can't promise. I'm like, it's in your warehouse already. And you have robots to do everything. Just tell a robot not to send it to me. Anyway. So they shipped it anyway. And then I was like, I need to return this. And I didn't even open the box, like not even the Amazon box on the outside. So I was like, I'm just going to put a sticker on it and send it back. And they were like, we can't accept it. It's a hygiene thing. So basically when you try and return something, it first goes through like a basic checklist where it's like, can you return this? And then it'll just say, nope, sorry. And then I was like, okay, I need to talk to someone. And it was like, great. How about you talk to a chatbot first? So the chatbot came up. And it was like talking me through it. And halfway through, I think the chatbot glitched out because it just goes, I'm sorry, I can't seem to recall what we were talking about. Can you remind me? And so I said, you were about to give me a refund for this razor. And then the chatbot said, you mean this razor? And it pulled it up from my order history. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. And it goes, okay. Here's the refund. And I go, great. I need to send it back to you. And it's like, don't worry, just throw it away if you want it. And it was like an expensive electric razor. And I felt really bad about it. So I was like, okay, can I talk to a real person to get this sent back? So I talked to a real person and the person was like, and I was like, first, did the chatbot actually refund it? And they're like, yep, refund's on the way. I'm like, great. Now, how do I actually return it? And they're like, the chatbot said, no, you can't return it. And I was like, okay, well, I guess so. So then I just have an extra razor. But it's so funny to me that like one of my first interactions with a chatbot is it immediately screwing up and probably doing what the company doesn't want it to do.
Yeah. Well, Amazon will be fine, so
yeah,
I wouldn't feel too bad about it.
I spent so much money with them for Christmas that I'm like, they probably just looked at it and went, we can afford to return this thing.
It's from this guy.
Yeah. Anyway, it was just funny. So that's my week check-in about me getting a razor.
I love it.
That's amazing.
It's more about you outsmarting that AI.
Yeah.
Which was disturbingly easy to do.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I actually do AI, cybersecurity. Like, had I been a nefarious person, maybe I could have tried to do something because I know some techniques, but like, I didn't. It just screwed up enough on its own.
What are some of those techniques? Asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
That's amazing. What I'm imagining is some Terminator in the back, and he's like, "Gosh darn it!"
It turns out the Amazon chatbot is a loyal listener of your podcast.
I was just thinking about how funny it would be if in the Terminator movie there was a point where T-1000 was like, I forgot what I was doing. Can you remind me?
And he's like,
you're going back to the future to kill Cybernet.
That's how T2 started. He showed up and they went, what am I doing? You're here to protect me, not kill me. Right. Come with me if you want to live.
That's essentially, what is it, that last movie or the second to last movie where he's like, I take care of my Sarah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that one.
That had some good parts.
That did. You know what? I watched that on the plane. I was like flying back home from France, I think. And so it was a long flight. And I had an entire row. This is like when flying was dangerous, kind of. And they were like, hey, by the way, somebody might explode your plane. And I was like, man, we'll get on it. It's fine. And so we were like, we can't miss
How else are you going to get home?
Yeah, we can't miss our flight. So we got on the plane. So it was like, there wasn't a lot of people on the plane. So I had originally been seated in a middle row with like 4 seats, and nobody was in that row with me. So I asked the stewardess if I could have all of their blankets and pillows. And she was like, yeah. So I flipped up all the seats and I laid down and I put the Terminator on in like 3 of the screens. And so that no matter how I laid, if I like flipped flopped, I could still be watching the movie. And I was like curled up and I had all these blankets and I was like laying across this and I was like eating their little plane snacks and I'm watching the Terminator and it gets to the end part where he's like melting in lava and he's like, take care of my Sarah, and I'm like crying. I was like, this is a beautiful film. Like on this plane home from France.
And then they brought him back.
Yeah, they brought him back, and I was a little bit
They
disappointed because
ruined
I was
the
like,
sacrifice.
I wasted my tears.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So for Branden's benefit, in the end of that movie,
Which one?
Genesis?
Genesis, I think.
Oh,
No,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
Wait, he gets melted
Yes.
many times? Because he's melted in Terminator 2.
Yeah. No, he's melted in like a
vat.
of
Lava.
robot nanobots or something.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Robot nanobots.
You thought for
Yeah.
sure there was no coming back from that.
I thought
Turns
they just
out-
make him a new one.
Yeah, he just became part of the nanobots. So
Yeah.
they like saw his brain chip and they were like, this is a cool robot. Let's make him a new body
Yeah.
or something. I don't remember
So
exactly.
it is actually the same robot later.
Yeah.
Okay. In Terminator 2, he's melted. Terminator 3, he's a new
Yeah.
version.
Yeah, no, this is the same one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What a series.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So yeah, there's that
Okay.
story that's related to what you were talking about.
Now, what
That's
happened this
whatever
week
you were
for
talking
you?
about for you. What was my week check?
Yes.
Oh man. Do it again.
Do what again?
You're just week check. You seemed
Oh.
excited. We only
What-
got one week check from you.
We killed a Hive Lord.
We did. Okay, that's my that's my week check. We were playing. Look, I got back to school. There's students. Whatever. Who cares about that? Brandon and I were playing Heckadivers.
Heckadivers.
Heckadivers. I was like, kids. We're playing Heck Divers, and we're playing against the bugs on a level 8, which the game itself titles 8 as impossible. And I found that to be an accurate description because we were not doing well. And it was just the two of us, and there's this huge hive lord, which I kept calling Shai Hulud, or what did I call it? Thresher Maw, if you played Mass Effect.
Mhm.
I just don't ever call things by the right name. Anyways, so this Thresher Maw was like, it's huge, and it comes up from underneath you, and it sends you flying, it belly flops on you, and it's like spits acid on you, and you just die constantly. And it's so hard to get anything done. So, you're just really trying. And so Brandon suggested we do a level, which you usually have 40 minutes to complete a level. And he was like, we're just going to kill the Hive Lord. That's the only job that we're going to do. And I was like, I can get behind that. So we had a loadout just for killing the Hive Lord. And Brandon was like, okay, but we might want to bring this in case we want to finish the mission. And I was like, you're too optimistic, Brandon. We're just going to kill the Hive Lord, and that's all we're going to do. And so we got on to the planet, and we were single-minded in our goal. And we went after that Thresher Maw it was like 32 minutes it took us. But we killed it. Just like... so much death and so much acid spewed on us, and we got tossed so many times, and things were crazy, Josh. It was crazy, my sweet potlings. But at 32 minutes, we finally beat it. And I was so excited. And there's an emoji where you can like hug another Helldiver, and we like hugged. It was the greatest moment. And Brandon was like, all right, we got 8 minutes to finish the mission. And we finished it in 8 minutes, but we were not able to extract, so we were left stranded on the planet. But by gosh, we did it for democracy.
Yeah. Is that the video on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
The kids watched it.
I loved watching the kids watch it because I came up for pizza. And Avery
Was just dialed in.
was so dialed in, and we got to the end part, and the other, I think Dash had to go somewhere, and Griff I can't remember where Griff went, and Fern was just on and off my lap, but Avery was like sitting right by the thing, and he was watching, and he's like, there's only 2 minutes left. It's counting down. And we're like, not there. And it's from Brandon's perspective, because my perspective is mostly just like getting thrown in the air and like dying constantly. Brandon was the much more effective of the two Helldivers. And then there's like a minute left or something, and Brandon dies. His Helldiver dies. And Avery literally just goes, like, watching. And I was like, this is the best. This is why we do what we do. So
there's some cross-brand promotion too.
Yeah.
Brandon,
Yeah.
I've got a blog. that nobody visits.
I have
Branden's got a YouTube page
that nobody but my nephews visit.
So
Kelly has a podcast that all you precious podlings love.
yeah.
So yeah, if you could go, so I don't even know.
Maybe
how to
I'll put a link in the show notes, and I'll put a link when I put it on Instagram.
Okay, but just for the YouTube video.
Just
right?
for the YouTube video.
Okay, good.
I know, because you are super against me promoting your
blog
blog that no one goes to.
Yep.
Because you're like, I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, it's better when no one visits.
Yeah, that is actually true. Like I post about some personal stuff, and I'm like, it's a good thing nobody reads this, except for Michaela.
Is it kind of like a journal for you?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
So, I mean, that might end up being a cool thing. Like later in your life, your kids can go through your blog.
Yeah.
And
be like, remember when Dad was so bent out of shape about that?
And your kids will watch yours, your grandkids will watch yours, and they'll be like, Dad killed the Thresher Mob!
Nah. I genuinely think that this podcast is going to end up being more meaningful for my kids than my YouTube channel.
Well, guess we got to keep going then.
Yeah. This is as close to a journal as I'll ever keep.
That's why we got to keep your week checks in.
Make your own death. Wait 10 years and then check in with your kids and be like,
what
which
do you
was
guys
more
think?
meaningful?
How many more subscribers?
They'll be like, what are you doing? I thought you were dead. I was alive.
Okay. So, but anyways, yeah, there's our week checks. So to continue the pod so we don't stop it, today we're going to talk about the fairies that fooled Sherlock.
Okay.
Have you heard of that before?
I have, because I'm a big Sir Arthur Conan Doyle fan.
I have not, because I'm not a big Sir Arthur Conan Doyle fan.
Well, these famously later became known as the fairies that fooled Sherlock. These are the Cuttingley Fairies. So, as just like a real quick sum up, we're talking about there was photos that were taken that came out in this time frame, and Sherlock, the Arthur Conan Doyle, among everybody else, saw them. And there's just like, there was a huge debate on whether or not they were real or not. So we're going to talk about these photos and how Arthur Conan Doyle went through the process of proving them to be real.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading a book, and I will put the book in the show notes. I forget, it's like The Coming of the Fairies by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I think, or something like that. I'll put the name of the book in the show notes so that you guys have it. It's fantastic.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but I was reading it and I was like, this is so precious. Also, I love the way that they talk. Like, he's clearly in like the most, because it's just written by him and it's him kind of discussing how he went about proving that they were true, or at least providing evidence for people to decide on their own. Mm-hmm. And I just love the way that he talks and the way that he goes about things. And so most of this episode is going to be from the point of view of how he went about testing the photos, which I just like loved. So I think it's best to start with his words, and it's a little bit long, but I'm going to have Josh read it because I feel like who better to read for Arthur Conan Doyle. So, go ahead and hit us with those sweet words.
The series of incidents set forth in this little volume represent either the most elaborate and ingenious hoax ever played upon the public, or else they constitute an event in human history which may, in the future, appear to have been epic-making in its character. It is hard for the mind to grasp what the ultimate result may be if we have actually proved the existence upon the surface of this planet of a population which may be as numerous as the human race, which pursue its own strange life in its own strange way, and which is only separated from ourselves by some difference of vibrations. We see objects within the limits which make our color spectrum with infinite vibrations unused by us on either side of them. If we could conceive a race of beings which were constructed in material which throughout shorter or longer vibrations they would be invisible, unless we could tune ourselves up or tone them down. It is exactly that power of tuning up and adapting itself to other vibrations which constitutes a clairvoyant. And there is nothing scientifically impossible, so far as I can see, in some people seeing that which is invisible to others. If the objects are indeed there, and if the inventive power of the human brain is turned upon the problem, it is likely that some sort of psychic spectacles inconceivable to us at the moment will be invented, and that we shall be able to adapt ourselves to the new conditions.
I just love this and find it so precious. He's an incredibly intelligent man. And there's something about the fact that he's like, there's a lot of things we don't know and we don't understand, so why should we limit ourselves on what we can and can't believe, just because we can't prove it? And this is like the 1920s era, so it's definitely a time of like industry and discovery and science and all that kind of stuff, but we also know so little. And so there's something just like I loved about the way he kind of saw things, I think.
Yeah. It is interesting too. What it got me thinking of is like, obviously from the scientific mindset, there are tons of things that we can't see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not long after that, they proposed neutrinos or, all these things that we still have a difficult time detecting.
Yeah.
So it is funny that he's not like, he's seeing something, which we should probably describe in greater detail. And he's saying, I don't know, maybe there's lots of stuff we don't see.
Yeah.
We don't see air.
Yeah. And I love, because in like how much color, like the variety of color we see is based on our like rods and cones or whatever, and the light that we can take in. And how many do humans have? What is it, like 8 or 9 or something like that?
What? Eyes?
Oh no.
Rods and cones.
Rods
You're thinking
and
of
cones.
spiders.
Yeah. And there's some animals that have like 16, like that mantis thing.
Yeah, mantis shrimp have like 50.
Yeah, like insane. And so the idea that there are colors and, things that I can't see that a mantis shrimp can see is a little offensive.
That's why mantis shrimp are known as
the artists
greatest
of
artists.
the sea.
Yes.
But I do think it's interesting that he's not limiting himself to just what he can see. But he's also trying to be like intelligent about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Any other comments before I continue?
I don't know. I thought that what he said sounded smart and agreeable, so I'm impressed. He wrote something that I'm okay with.
Okay, good. Then we can
Because
continue.
you were expecting to just despise Sir Arthur Conan
A
Doyle.
little bit.
He's all rah, 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 fairies are real.
I never liked Sherlock Holmes because I don't feel like he actually proves anything, the conclusions that he jumps to. But he's never wrong because he's a character in a book and the author chose to never have him be wrong.
He's wrong once.
But okay, he's been wrong once. Way to go, Sir Arthur
Is it
Conan
against
Doyle.
Moriarty?
Moriarty.
Marietta.
Mariachi?
No, Irene Adler.
Moriarty.
Moriarty.
Irene Adler, a.k.a. the woman.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, so I did watch Sherlock with
Benedict
Cumberbatch, and it's enjoyable.
I like that one.
The Robert Downey Jr. one's better.
Really?
I did not realize that you thought that.
I freaking love those.
Why?
They're just, I mean, I love Guy Ritchie.
Mm.
And it's
That
really-
is,
Guy
yeah.
Ritchie.
He's the director.
He's the director.
Oh, okay.
/ writer.
Didn't he
I
also
think
do King Arthur?
Yes.
Yeah.
A movie that everybody hates, but I also love. So maybe don't listen to me.
I liked it.
It got such poor reviews, but anytime someone comes over, I'm like, watch this movie with me. Everybody says it's terrible, but it's not. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, I think that I assumed that I wouldn't have great feelings about Mr. Doyle. Just because I don't care for his books. And I just don't care for them because it's one of those things where I feel like the character isn't as good and amazing as everybody in the book thinks he is. But everybody in the book thinks he's amazing because the author was like, everybody thinks this guy's amazing. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
It's funny though, because when you think about it, a lot of stuff, I don't know if it was state of the art, but it was pretty advanced at the time, right? Like a good example is he has one mystery that is entirely based around a code, right? The dancing men.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's super basic cryptography, right? Even at the time it would have been pretty relatively basic, but it's approachable. And now we have stuff that's so far beyond it, right? But at the time it was basically like, I think he tried to find the most widely applicable or the most widely understandable example of something that's actually a pretty cool subject, right? So I don't know, I do think he dumbs it down a little bit, not for Sherlock's sake, but to make it more approachable for the
mass
man.
yeah.
That
for
might
the
be true,
podlings.
and maybe I don't give him enough credit because I've grown up in a world that is so much more advanced, and forensics and stuff. Like, this is pretty basic stuff here, Sherlock. And everybody's just like blown away.
Okay.
I do feel like every time we bring up something, we're like, it's amazing. And you're like, I didn't like it.
Remember when I did that with Crystal, the Dark Crystal? Anyway, okay. It reminds me of, John Mulaney has a bit where he's talking about like detectives back in the day. And he's like, the perpetrator left a gallon of blood here. Gross. Mop that up.
It's true.
It's so good.
It's so accurate. So yeah. Well, anyways, Sherlock aside, it wasn't actually Sherlock that got fooled. It was Arthur Conan Doyle. But also, a huge portion of people also,
Yeah.
Anyways, so here we go. So he goes on a bit more to explain like spectrums and light and that kind of stuff. But essentially he leads into how he heard about these photos originally in May of 1920. So just to for timeline's sake, the photos were actually taken originally in 1917. So this is a few years before it gets to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And how he heard of it is he heard in a conversation with his friend,
What are the are you going to describe what the photos are?
When he receives them, I'm going to give them to you guys, and you'll explain what they look like.
Okay.
She's got it all planned.
I got it.
It's fine.
It's all in here in my mind.
I wasn't sure
palace.
if this is one of those situations where Kelly's like, everyone knows what these are already, so I don't need to worry about describing them.
I like that even more because I was like, have you heard of these? And Brandon's like, no. And I'm like, okay, moving on.
All the podlings will know, though.
Everybody else will know. So yes, we will, my sweet, sweet podlings, we will describe the photos shortly.
You are really dragging the suspense out, though.
My sweet, sweet podlings. Yeah, I am. I'm taking it. I want you to experience it in the order he experienced.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's like I'm Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah, maybe that's why you have...
But smarter. Probably taller, too.
Was he short?
Just people back in the day were short.
Brandon's tall for old people.
The past was full of short people.
For back in the day.
Hold on.
He's like
6'4". Oh man, there's
Dang
nothing
it.
wrong with this
He's
guy.
He's like, what are you doing down there? He does have a pretty great mustache, I think.
He was 6'2". So great.
All right, so continuing on. So he heard in a conversation with his friend, Mr. Gao, the editor of Light. I assume it's like a magazine or newspaper or something. That there had been some alleged photographs of fairies that had been taken, which he found very interesting because he had already been doing, separately on his own, research about fairies, because the idea of fairies existing was not a new idea. And so he had a bunch of research on fairies and that kind of stuff. Anyways, so he wanted to know about it, but the guy was like, I didn't actually see them. And so he referred him to a friend of his, Miss Scatcherd. And he quoted as saying, a lady for whose knowledge and judgment I had considerable respect. So what she says, he's gonna respect. And she comes up a few times, I think. But so when he went to her, she had also not actually seen the photos. And so she referred him to her friend, Miss Gardner, who had actually seen the photos. And she wrote saying that she was getting on the trail back to Sherlock. Doyle.
A Doyle?
A Doyle. Wait, a Doyle? So he is writing back and forth with Miss Gardner, and she writes back, and she's referring to her brother in this letter. And this is another long one, but I'm going to quote the letter because, again, I just love the way they talk, and I thought it was really precious. So, Branden, I'm going to have you read that if that's cool.
But it's from a woman,
I'm
so...
going to read, the woman's letter? Okay.
Yeah.
In the voice.
Okay, I'll read it myself.
Did you send it to me?
No, it's just right here in my hands.
Oh, okay.
Right here in my hands.
I wish you could see a photo he has. He believes in fairies, pixies, goblins, etc. Children in many cases really see them and play with them. He's gotten into touch with a family in Bradford where the little girl Elsie and her cousin Frances constantly go into woods and play with the fairies. The father and mother are skeptical and have no sympathy with their nonsense, as they call it, but an aunt whom Edward has interviewed is quite sympathetic with the girls. Some little time ago, Elsie said she wanted to photograph them and begged her father to lend his camera. For long he refused, but at last she managed to get the loan of it and one plate. Off she and Frances went into the woods near a waterfall. Frances ticed them, as they call it, and Elsie stood ready with the camera. Soon the three fairies appeared, and one pixie dancing in Frances's aura. Elsie snapped and hoped for the best. It was a long time before the father would develop the photo, but at last he did, and to his utter amazement, the four sweet little figures came out beautifully. Edwards got the negative and took it to a specialist in photography, who would know a fake at once, skeptical as he was before he tested it. Afterwards, he offered £100 down for it. He pronounced it absolutely genuine, and a perfectly remarkable photograph. Edward has it enlarged and hanging in his hall. He's very interested in it, and as soon as possible, he's going to Bradford to see the children. What do you think of this? Edward says the fairies are the same line of evolution as the winged insects, etc., etc. I fear I cannot follow all his reasonings, but I knew you would be keenly interested. I wish you could see the photo, and another one of the girls playing with the quaintest goblin imaginable.
Yeah. So he receives this photo with this description, and this is essentially how it's described, like the sequence of how they captured the photo. The girls have been known to like go out and they would go into the woods and they would get covered in like mud and dirt and water and that kind of stuff, and they would come back and they would be like, we were playing with the fairies, and their parents are like, no you weren't, that's ridiculous, we're tired of it. And so Elsie continually asked her father to borrow his camera because he was a photographer at the time and had a whole bunch of different cameras. And so finally, after a lot of begging, he gave in and he gave her a camera with one plate in it. And so these cameras that these were taken on are like on a glass plate, which was not uncommon at the time. So he continued his research and tried to learn as much as he could about the two photos. Because at this point, there's only two. In total, there's 5. But for most of this research at the very beginning, it's just the first 2 photos. Okay, so he's learning about the 2 photos. And he learned that they had both been sent to be inspected by Miss Bloomfield. This is a family friend of the people that took the photos. So he wrote in a letter to her and then received back a letter from her, and in the letter he actually received the 2 photos. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to send you guys the 2 photos, and I'll have you guys describe them for the people.
All right, so in this image we see, so Frances is a girl. Okay. So we see a girl, she's like leaning against some like a mossy embankment or something, and there's a little waterfall behind her. It's a sepia tone, and there are 4 fairies kind of in front of her. They look like they're dancing and having a good time. One's playing some sort of flute. They look I don't know, pretty standard for what fairies, like when you think of fairies, I guess. They've got butterfly-style wings and drapey dresses. They're all girls, I assume.
Looks like it.
They seem to be captured in movement, like as they're dancing around the one playing the flute.
Beautiful.
Okay, second one. We have a lady, a little child, perhaps, wearing an adorable hat. Not really. It looks like she's got an upturned bucket on her head.
I think they're called bucket hats.
Are they really?
I think so.
They're aptly named. Anyway, she's sitting in some grass with some trees behind her. It's black and white, rather poor quality. Can't believe these guys didn't have the latest iPhone. And she's not playing, she's playing with one little being, and this being is not like a fancy, nice one. It's like a little dude with a dunce cap on.
I think this is the goblin, the most adorable goblin imaginable that was described at the end of the letter.
I gotta be honest, I can imagine much more adorable goblins. He's got a little dunce cap. I think he's got wings as well, and little like, oh, look at my pointy jester shoes. He's like, she's reaching out to touch him, and he's like, meh, 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 I'm a goblin.
Is her hand immense?
Yes. That actually comes up later.
Yeah, it does look like she's got elongated fingers.
Yeah, that actually comes up later.
It's not a hand at all, it's a turnip. Anyway. Yeah, I think that describes it.
Yeah, right. So those are the photos, and those were the ones that when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle saw them, and a lot of other people saw them, they were like, oh my gosh, fairies are real. These are the most amazing, most beautiful photos I've ever seen. And thus far, the people that had checked the negatives and seen them could not see any tampering with them. In fact, there's one, they sent it to, also, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he saw these photos and he was like, look, I want to help in any way I can to prove that they're real. And then once we prove they're real, I want to help in publicizing these, because this is like earth shattering. It could be huge that we've just, proved this whole other race of beings living on the earth with us. And she was like, I would love that. And if it were my photos, I totally would let you, but they're not mine. And since they're not mine, I don't have permission. You can't do that. But we can send it to more professionals. So he's like, okay, let's send it to more professionals. And so talking about these photos, she says, I do not see an opening for fraud or hoax, though. At first, when I saw the prints, I thought there must be some other explanation other than the simple one that they were what they seemed. They appeared too good to be true, but every little detail I've since heard. So he's hoping to attain more than from the same girls. So he's trying to get like more photos from the same girls, but they don't see any room for how they could have been faked because there's no stuff on the plate.
So their only concern is whether the photo has been tampered with or not. They're not at all wondering if maybe they're just dolls.
That's the main concern, is to verify that the plate wasn't messed with. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, because I was like, why didn't they just think, that seems obvious to me, right? Mm-hmm. But I wanted to talk about like the common Photoshop stuff that was happening at the time, because I also was like, what are they even looking for on the plate? Because this is like 1920s. Like, I'm imagining Photoshop where you can take it into the computer and you can do all that stuff. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like ancient Photoshoppers. Like ancient, it's like the 1920s.
We actually watched something related to this.
Oh yeah?
So you talk about your thing, and then if it doesn't cover what I did, I'll talk about
it. So they did do a lot of stuff so like as soon as technology shows up, I think we kind of as humans tend to push the bounds and see what we can do with them. Sometimes they would do, like, artists figured out that they could do things to correct stuff that the camera couldn't handle. So, for example, if you take a picture of the sky, oftentimes it's overexposed in one photo because the sky is so bright, but then it's underexposed in other photos. So what they would do is they take multiple landscape photos and then stitch together all the parts that were correctly exposed to get an accurate depiction of the landscape.
So we use a technique now called high dynamic range, which does that on the fly.
Yeah, which they didn't have, obviously. So it's still something that we do inherently because it's hard for technology to catch up with what we can see with our eyes. So this also brought about the discovery of a technique called wet collodion. I have to double check how it's said.
Collodion.
Oh, I said it right.
You nailed it.
I did. Okay, so it's called wet collodion, which is, it's a process that allows photographers to combine multiple photos on one negative, overlapping the various images. And then this also brought about something that became really huge, especially during the Civil War era, that was called spirit photography. And during this time was a huge rise of spiritualism, and people were really looking for proof of the afterlife. And so there was a lot of clairvoyance and people that claimed that they could speak to the dead and have communications with people's loved ones. And during the Civil War era, there was a lot of people that lost a lot of family and that kind of stuff. And so for some reason, I didn't realize that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was a spiritualist in this sense. He really believed that clairvoyants were clairvoyant, and in the idea of spiritualists and spiritualism and that kind of stuff. Because I think I was thinking of Houdini. Did you guys know that Houdini was super against mediums and people that could speak to the dead?
He was a skeptic.
Yeah, he was a big skeptic.
I didn't know.
And he would actually go around disproving mediums that were faking talking to the dead. He would show how they did the knocking and all this stuff.
A lot of magicians, professional, I feel, are like that.
Yeah.
Penn and Teller are the archetype of the...
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense because their whole world is about illusions and deceiving what people see, and so they're probably really ingrained in that, that nothing is what you see, and there's an explanation behind it, and it just lends to a skeptical type.
Yeah, but also I feel like there's something, because I think if I'm remembering correctly, he really did want it to be true because he had family members he had lost, and he wanted to be able to actually talk to them, but he just kept finding that they were all fake. Yeah. And so I think that he and his wife... Are we talking about... Houdini. Okay. Because I want to say, and I'll double check this later and then put it in as I'm editing if I'm wrong, but I think he and his wife or somebody had agreed on a code word so that whoever dies first would tell the medium this code word. And if the medium didn't say the code word back, then they would know not a true medium, and it's not really them that the medium is channeling.
I mean, that's solid.
Correct. There was a secret code that was agreed upon, which was Rosabelle, answer, tell, pray, answer, look, tell, answer, answer, tell. The meaning was, when decoded, the series of words spelled out the word believe, I guess. And the origin, Rosabelle, was the name of their favorite song and was inscribed inside Houdini's wife's wedding band. The rest of the phrase was a secret code they had agreed upon earlier in their mentalism stage acts. And then after Houdini died on October 31st, 1926, Bess, his wife, went to seances every 10 years on the anniversary of his death, so Halloween, until eventually she stopped because the code was never given. So there we go. And that code word was never said after he died.
Remember that we had a code word when we were little?
I do.
Yes. To get in, for people
if mom and dad sent someone to pick us up.
Did I tell you about the time Grandma got pissed when she came? So I was walking home from the Dixons or something. Uh-huh. And it was kind of rainy outside, and she pulled up and she was like, "Hey, hop in my car and I'll just take you home." And I was all, "What's the code word?" This is our grandma. And she was like, I don't know the code word. And I was like, then I'm not getting in your car. And she was like, I am your grandmother. Get in this car. And I was like, no. And I kept walking. And I got home. And Mom was like, I just got a call from your grandmother. And I was like, yeah, she didn't have the code word. And Mom was like, I'm not mad at you. She didn't.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. It's so amazing.
She was so mad at me. Like, we had so few interactions with Grandma. And I was like, I'm not getting in the car with you.
You don't know the code word.
The code word.
You might steal me.
Okay, I want to talk about the thing a little bit.
Okay.
The magicians, right? Because here's the thing. Here's what magicians are used to doing. They see a trick performed by another magician, which they know is not done according to some supernatural thing. And so what they do is, how would I do the exact same thing? That's how they approach it, right? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was approaching this of, I think is real. How do we prove it's real, right? The exact opposite framework.
Yeah.
Like if you took these and gave them to Houdini and said, how would you make this photo? He would find a half dozen methodologies to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then you would know, okay, it's not real, right?
Yeah.
So instead of looking for how would I make this, Arthur was focused on like, what can we do to prove this is true, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I find it super interesting because, so like with these Photoshop things, I'm going to list the rest of the ones really quick. He sends it to like 15 different specialists. It gets sent so many times. And they keep saying they're genuine photographs because they're not seeing things like with the spirit photography that was done. Because a lot of times it was, like you said, double exposures. So that's two images that are combined to be printed in the same image. And then sometimes they would reuse a glass plate that wasn't cleaned properly. So there would be sort of like a ghost image left behind from the previous photo. Sometimes, because there's quite a bit of planning involved in taking a photo, a lot of people would have to go to like a studio. And so they would pre-expose the plate. So that they would go like take a photo, either a photo that already exists of the deceased person, or they just go take a photo of the deceased person because they'd have the deceased person hanging around for a while. They'd take that photo, pre-expose it, and then while the person was in the studio, they would take the photo so that they could take it out and develop it there, and the person would see that ghost image show up and they'd be like, they were right behind me. Sometimes they would just manipulate the image in the dark room, adding ink or paint or whatever. And then this is kind of the last one, which I think you immediately touched on, is sometimes they would just straight up have somebody sneak into the background of the photo wearing all white. And then they'd take the photo and they'd sneak back out of the photo. And the person was like, there wasn't someone behind me when we took that photo. And so they do stuff like that.
But in an instance like that, that wouldn't show up as tampering with the photo at all.
No, but I think the problem with those is that the person in the photo doesn't look like their deceased person. It's just a person in white. So yes, unless they did kind of mess with the plate to make the person in the background have a more ethereal effect, then that would show up. They also used it for like other stuff, like commercial companies, like advertising companies would mess with their photos to make their product look better, or it also became like an art form. Like they have a photo of like a dirigible parking at the Empire State Building, even though that never happened, and it looks like a photo because they messed with it and that kind of stuff. So those are all the things that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is searching for. And expert after expert is confirming that there is no tampering done to the negatives or the plates. And then, Josh, let's have you read this next one since Branden just read. So this is coming from May Bowley, and she wrote in a letter, and she's an artist. And this is, I think, exactly what you were talking about, Josh, the way that they're approaching this.
I'm glad to hear that you are interested in the fairies if they were really taken, as there seems good reason to believe. The event is no less than a discovery of a new world. This may not be out of place to mention that when I examined them with a magnifying glass, I noticed, as an artist, that the hands do not... Man, they were looking at hands back then. Remember how hands are the AI?
Yeah.
I noticed as an artist that the hands do not appear to be quite the same as ours, though the little figures look otherwise so human. The hands seem to me something like this. There followed a sketch of a sort of fin. The beard in the little gnome seems to me some sort of insect-like appendage, though it would no doubt be called a beard by a clairvoyant seeing him. Also, it occurs to me that the whiteness of the fairies may be due to their lack of shadow, which may also explain their somewhat artificial-looking flatness.
I literally read that and I was like, guys, you're on it. Like, you found it here. So, again, remember, this obviously comes up later.
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, that explains why they're flat looking and don't have shadows. Because they're not the same beings as us, so they don't interact with light the same. But again, he's a very meticulous man in his own way, looking for evidences and people to verify and that kind of stuff. So he consults a trusted clairvoyant of his, who he calls Mr. Lancaster. And this man he trusted because this clairvoyant had claimed to see fairies himself and has a spirit guide as a regular consultant that nobody else can see. So he's like, obviously I took his opinion very highly because he already has access to this unseen spirit world with his constant contact with this spirit guide. So I'm going to read what the clairvoyant said after looking at these photos, which I'm not actually going to read it. I'm going to make Branden read it. So this is the clairvoyant's response to the photos.
The more I think of it, the less I like it. I mean, the one with the Persian coiffed fairies, my own guide says it was taken by a fair man, short, with his hair brushed back. He has a studio with a lot of cameras, some of which are turned by a handle. He did not make it to sell spiritualist a pup, but did it to please the little girl in the picture, who wrote fairy stories, which he illustrated in this fashion. He is not a spiritualist, but would laugh very much if anyone was taken in by it. He does not live where we were, and the place is all different. That is, the houses, instead of being in straight lines, are dropped about all over the place. Apparently, he was not English. I should think it was either Denmark or Los Angeles, by the description, which I give you for what it is worth. I should very much like the lens which would take persons in rapid motion with the clarity of the photo in question. It must work at f/4.5 and cost 5 guineas, if a penny, and not the sort of lens one would imagine the children in an artesian household would possess. And a hand camera, and yet with the speed at which it was taken, the waterfall in the background is blurred sufficiently to justify a 1-second exposure at least.
So the clairvoyant sees the photos and he doesn't like them because his spiritualist is like, the photos weren't taken by little girls, they were taken by this guy. And also, like, I want to see the camera setup. Like, this guy also apparently knows quite a bit about photography.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about, like, the shutter speed and stuff. Mm-hmm. So,
which is huge. Which is a huge point. I mean, like, that one right there. The waterfall is blurred, but the dancing fairies are not.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I also love that a scammer is always really aggressive about other scammers. He's like, no, I'm the only one with a spirit buddy. He doesn't even have a spirit buddy. Yeah, he's fake.
Totally fake.
I'm real.
So Arthur Conan Doyle says to this, what a doubting Thomas. I was like, good. Fantastic. So then Doyle explains that clairvoyance evidence should still be considered, but it should be considered as if looking in a glass. So they contain a mixture of truth and error, as he says. So he says the description the clairvoyant gave was an accurate one of the girl's father and the surroundings. So what the spirit guide was actually describing was the man who developed the photos, not the one who took the photos. And so even though he doesn't like the photos, his comments still to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle give proof to the truthfulness of it, because you can't take a clairvoyant's word totally true But you can take it and twist it however you need it to fit, I suppose.
What a cynical take Kelly just gave us.
Have we ever talked about confirmation bias?
Yeah, so that's exactly what that was. Since he was going through and sending negatives to more experts and to more people to try and find it, he sent copies of the negatives to people at the Kodak company, because it was around then. And these people explained, like, yes, the negatives weren't messed with. It appears that these are legitimate photos. However, her hand is really elongated, so that to me makes it feel like maybe it's something staged. And the toadstools look fake. And then one of the guys was like, give me some cardboard in 15 minutes and I could set this up in my studio and retake this photo.
Bingo. That's the way you do it.
Yeah. And so Sir Arthur Conan Doyle disputes these two main arguments. First by saying...
By calling them a doubting Thomas.
And he's like, that's it. So first he says they were simply children, and children do not have that creativity and access to a studio that this guy has, which we know is not true because an entire village of people were burned for witches because of little girls that made up stuff.
Well, on top of that, he's taking the story of how the picture came about as 100% fact.
Yeah. Also true. Yeah.
Which you should be doubting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also, his second argument is he states that just because...
Yes.
And how can you argue with that?
You can't. Because it's not in a language.
So he states that just because something can be reproduced does not mean that it is false. So, yes, he could probably reproduce the photos with cardboard and time.
Okay. So here's the thing. Reproducibility is one of the most important things of any scientific study, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sure, you can reproduce them in a studio and anyone can do that. You can make the argument. But can you say, I will take my camera to the woods with these children and take another picture of the fairies, which should be able to do because if this was the most important thing ever and it potentially had upended the whole world order and wouldn't you go, please take me and my camera to your fairies and we'll take a picture and we'll reproduce it that way, right?
Yeah.
That's the obvious way. That's how you falsify a scientific study of any kind.
Yeah. So in response to this, though, he does want to take action. So he has a friend that is in the area where the girls live, and he sends him out to the location with a camera.
Oh my gosh. Why didn't I just shut my stupid mouth?
And
I hate myself.
no, it gets...
Josh, this is good.
You're exactly right.
You're so smart.
So the problem with that is he himself alone is unable to take photos of the fairies. They're not there.
Yeah, the girls weren't there to entice them.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is the girls were not there. And to him, in his letter back to Doyle, he says, this makes sense because the children weren't there and they're in tune with the fairies' vibrations. But the problem is, since these photos were taken in 1917 and it's been years and then years of them trying to prove that they're correct, he says that the girls will soon hit puberty and then they'll fall in love and then they won't be in tune with the fairies anymore. Because everybody knows when you hit puberty and fall in love, you're no longer able to see these childlike wonders. But
I love this thing. Okay, because he's like, they're a whole nother race and we could communicate with them. But all your ambassadors will have to be prepubescent girls. Tell them that we have mineral rights for this area when they go over there. They said
global wobble. So yes, but so he can't take the photos, but he does talk to the family and take photos of the area. So first thing, he disproves her hands because she's super embarrassed about her hands and she's like, please don't make fun of them, they're weirdly large. And so she does actually have just very large hands that she's very self-conscious about. But he's able to take a photo of the actual location the girls were, and it's the same toadstools, it's the same waterfall. So he proves, at the very least, that the background and the, plant life and that kind of stuff wasn't staged, which Sir Arthur Conan Doyle feels helps his argument, saying like, look, we couldn't take the photos, the girls were not available, and we couldn't see them, but here's proof that these things weren't faked. So after all of this research, he's like, I felt that I had done a thorough job, and I'd done a good job finding a lot of information, and that these findings needed to be made public. And then the public can examine them and, you know, give their opinion, but have access to this information. So that's what he does. He writes an article and publishes the photos, and they get well circulated, and they have generally mixed acceptance. So they have mixed acceptance, where some are also those doubting Thomases, and others take it as real documentation that fairies exist. He does state in his article that essentially if he could have his druthers, he would be able to go out and reproduce the photos with somebody else uninvolved that could go and take a photo of the fairies and show that the fairies were there. But he also understands that that's a tall order to ask and somewhat impossible. And so he doesn't believe that should be something to disprove it. So after he puts this out, people are asking for more photos, and the girls eventually produce 3 more photos with fairies, and they're accepted in the same way. And more experts look at these, and nobody can find fault with the photos. They're of the exact same quality of the previous ones. And so they stay in the public eye. They stay available to the public, and it's a highly disputed thing, but it's never proven fully that it's wrong. And the girls have been interviewed many, many times. The parents have been interviewed many, many times, and they never say that the fairy photos are fake. So Sir Arthur Conan Doyle dies in the 1930s. And there's no proof that the fairy photos were false. So he lives his whole life believing these, which part of me is like, that is precious.
Well, it was only 10 years.
That's true, I guess. But 10 years, he got to believe fully that fairies were real. And again, they stay in the public eye. But then finally, in 1983, the required evidence finally came to light to either prove their veracity or their hoaxery of the fairies. So the girls, in an interview, finally admit that they had indeed created the fairies.
That's the evidence that comes to light.
The evidence that comes to light.
We lied.
Yeah. So how it's explained on how they did it is they drew little fairies from books of dancers. And some of the bodies they explained weren't really correct or had extra long legs because they were combining different photos of different dancers. And so they weren't quite right. But they wanted to get the pose they were looking for the fairies. And so they combined, different body parts essentially to create the fairy that they wanted. And they drew it on this thin paper. So they took hat pins and they stuck the cutout fairies on hat pins, which allowed the wings to sort of flutter a little bit in the wind, which explains some of the movement that they tended to show. And the hat pins, she explained, were 18 inches long, so they could have them kind of there's one of a fairy jumping, and it looks like it's jumping because they could stick the hat pin in the side and it'd stick out in the air. And people were like, don't you feel bad about lying to everybody for so long? And the girl's defense was, we didn't lie. We're not the ones that said they were real. And anytime anybody brought anything up, tons of people would come to their defense, the defense of the photos, and would, explain how they were real. So they're we didn't actually say anything. And this really famous guy, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, backed them this whole time. So we were little kids. How could we not go with what this really famous, intelligent man said?
We were just innocent, prepubescent young girls who had never been in love.
Yeah.
This really smart guy said it was real. Who are we to say it wasn't?
Yeah. And so they went along with it until 1983, when they finally explained the truth. So there
like
it is.
A deathbed confession?
No, they're like, I can actually show you the video, or we can listen to it for a second because I thought it was actually kind of cute.
They had to be in their 80s, right?
Yeah, they're old ladies. So here we go.
What we did, and I said, we with the long hat pin, we put it down the back like that, and stuck the tape at the back like that, and then gradually wormed that down. They were longer than that, though. They were about that then, 18 inches at least, and then wormed that down into the earth. And they said that the thing was that they could see them, that the fairies were moving when the photograph was taken, but that's because they did it in the breeze. I never even thought of it being a fraud. It was just Elsie and I having a bit of fun. And I can't understand it to this day why people were taken in. They wanted to be taken in. And people keep often say to me, don't you feel ashamed that you've made all these poor people look fools? They believed in you. But I don't, because they wanted to believe. Look at this photograph. That fairy's all out of drawing. That leg doesn't belong to that fairy. And somebody pointed it out in the newspaper. And one of our dear believers said, well, fairies aren't like humans. They haven't got bodies like we have the skeleton and the arms and legs. They sort of put it together with thought. And sometimes it doesn't come out right. We didn't have to tell a lie about it at all, because always somebody came out to justify it. It was very embarrassing because, I mean, two village kids and a brilliant man like Conan Doyle, well, we could only just keep quiet.
So yeah, that's in their own words.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's, I think, the really big takeaway. I was like, they just really wanted to believe that the fairies were real.
You know what? Did you bring up the witch hunting?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It is very similar, where it's like these little girls making something up, and then what really gives it life is the pastors who have ulterior motives, or the people in charge of the town who want the land.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the parents, they describe in the letters, like the parents don't have time for these shenanigans because they're like, no, like this is just them doing them, but it kind of took off and had a life of its own after these bigger, like higher powered, entities got involved. So it just was like real interesting that in an effort to prove that they were true and finding about them, he sort of created the hoax himself and then believed it, which is so wild.
Interesting.
So yeah, that is the Cuttingley Fairies, also known as the fairies that fooled Sherlock.
It seems especially applicable given like everything going on with AI, image generation, and politics, especially in the US. Yeah.
Well, it's something my coworkers and I were like talking about this because Dejani sent me this really cute photo or video of like a dog and a baby or something. And I was like, this is so cute, but it's definitely AI. And she was like, I'm so disappointed. And then there was a couple more videos and we were like, this is also AI. And we were so sad because we were like, finding cute animal videos is half of the joy we receive. But and they're all AI now. And so like we're having to like educate on like, how can you tell it's AI? And now you have to like confirm the truthfulness of the videos, because it's so often that AI gets used even just to like adjust or tweak a video or completely create a video out of nowhere, so you have to, it's no different. It's the same problem we've always had. We just are getting better at creating
the technical aspect.
Yeah, creating these falsehoods that we have to get even better at discovering them.
But what's interesting is that it's still largely driven by people who want to believe a specific thing.
Yeah. It's a cautionary tale. Still applicable today.
I mean, this just seems to more solidify like my stance that like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, being a clever and smart man, like was taken in by girls who weren't even trying to fool him because of his own desires to believe.
Do you have any other last quotes or last thoughts? Because I have a quote, a famous Arthur Conan Doyle quote I want to end with, because I think it's ironic.
Oh, good. We are just dunking.
Poor Josh. I will say his very first, like, you started off, like, this was definitely a zig and zag for me. Because I was like, Sir Arthur Coyle, what a dork. And then Josh read that quote, and I was like, maybe he's okay. Maybe he's a smart guy.
Well, I'm going to finish it off with a zag.
No, okay. So here's the thing, is that Arthur Conan Doyle was getting on in age at this point, right?
Yeah.
And so anytime you look at something like this, where like he reaches out to people that he trusts and they're like, no. And he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, what is his reason for feeling that way, right? Do you think that part of it is that like, as people get older, they think about their own morality? You mentioned mortality, yes. And morality. Yeah. They're a little more flexible, morally speaking. No, but like you talked about the Civil War, how there was this huge rise because there was all this, like, these people died and what happened to them. And for Arthur Conan Doyle, the closer you get to dying yourself, the more you're like, what's going to happen to me, right? I also wonder if he was disappointed with his own life. Like, because he was a famous author, famous for being an intelligent person, right? Yeah. Writing an intelligent person. And like, this just seems like he was like, finally a real scientific thing that I will be known for, you know? Like, I don't know. It would be really interesting to read a biography of Arthur Conan Doyle and talk about how his later life affected him. Yeah. But it does seem like the whole experience definitely had more to do with what was going on inside Arthur Conan Doyle's own mind than anything that was happening outside of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you had pointed out that technology, like, hasn't really changed anything. That we just have to find new techniques to not be taken in by these things. Yeah. Another conversation that recently came up in my life was I was talking with my in-laws and my father-in-law asked what I thought about UFOs. And I was like, I don't think they're real. I think it's a cool idea, and I wish they were. And he's like, really? Why don't you believe? And I was like, well, so like I grew up in the 90s, like X-Files and stuff. Like there was and in Oregon, the Northwest, like this is where
we love that crap.
This is where aliens come to abduct people. And there was a lot of it. I remember hearing, like, there was constantly, like, talks about abductions and this, right? And years go by, and technology has gotten better and better and better. And there's, like, a camera in everybody's pocket. And all of a sudden, there's no more UFO sightings. And I think that it's sad. I wish UFOs were real.
There's some alien up in the sky who's like, we just got better at hiding.
Our technology improved too.
Yeah, you're not the only ones.
These are the comments of the believers.
Yes. So, to wrap this up tightly in a Arthur Conan Doyle quote, he says, this is younger Arthur Conan Doyle, so it might be different. He says, it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit their theories instead of theories to suit their facts. Having right.
Yep. Smart man, and everything he ever wrote is correct.
So yeah, thanks for stopping by, Podlings. I hope that was a fun one. I really enjoyed reading. It was a magical thing to read about, and I still really enjoyed it. I don't hate Arthur Conan Doyle. And yeah, that's my thoughts.
Great.
That was very cool. Yeah. I think it was a good topic. Yeah. And I don't hate Sir Arthur Conan Doyle either. Maybe I even like him.
This feels like a big victory for us.
Maybe I like him even a little bit more after this episode.
You're good.
So we're going to stop there so he can't change his mind anymore. So thanks for stopping by. Go do some art. Don't do any crimes. Bye.
Bye.
So long, podlings.
Beautiful. Let's get out of here. Mama hungry.
Okay.
Did you stop the recording?
No, I don't know how to do that. So you got Mama hungry.
Let's get out of here. Mama hungry.
That should be your sign off.
In a letter back to Sherlock. Sorry.
That should be the joke at the end.
Whoopsie.
The Patreon listeners who get the unedited version.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.